Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another Henrico's Environmental Action Resource Team podcast. I'm Jeff Weidel, your host, and today we are going to be talking about two ideas. It's going to be talking about getting out and using bicycles and heart health. So we have two guests today. First of all, we have Sydnei Douglas. Sydnei, she is the fitness and wellness trainer with the Fitness and Wellness Division of Henrico County's Human Resources. And then we also have Ryan Levering. He is the Capital Projects Manager for the Department of Public Works. Thanks for joining us today, y'all.
No problem. Yeah, no problem.
Good to be here. So what once again, May is coming up, and if you're watching this in May, it will be May. But May is National Bike Month, and February was National Heart Health Month. So why don't we start off? What do you all think is the connection between those two different things?
Well, I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about heart health, there are different factors that go into heart health. One of them being your diet, what you eat. Another risk factor of heart disease would be smoking. So, what you put in your body, substance use. There are various different risk factors for heart disease, but another one of the risk factors would be sedentary behavior or sedentary lifestyle. So I think that it ties in because when we're talking about active transport and cycling and biking, we're also talking about getting active. And so that's great for your heart. Yeah.
Now, Ryan also, he is the chair of the Mobility and Active Transportation Subcommittee for Heart. So tell us a little bit about what the goal of your committee is when it comes to people cycling.
Sure. Yeah, our subcommittee has been really active in trying to basically promote biking throughout the county, whether it be for active transport to kind of just get from A to B, or recreationally, so to go out, get some exercise, and just ride your bike.
Right.
So, several different kinds of projects and initiatives going on within our subcommittee, but ultimately we're looking to just try to get folks out there to ride their bike.
Right. And Sydnei, cardiovascular fitness, do you think cycling is a good way to achieve that?
Oh, yeah, it's a great way to achieve that. Cycling is a form of aerobic exercise, which is great for the heart because it's rhythmic and repetitive. So when you're doing the cycling, that's rhythmic, and it's good for your health.
Right. And also, when we're looking at heart disease, what kind of factors are involved with that as far as I understand that high blood pressure is related to coronary artery disease.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so high blood pressure is the main avenue for you to acquire heart disease. And so a lot of things kind of contribute to you having high blood pressure. So that could be high cholesterol in your diet, which is you have a lot of fatty foods that you eat, and that also adds to the plaque in your arteries, which causes high blood pressure. It could be stress, because your heart rate is super, fast all the time, so the blood is rushing through the arteries at a higher rate, so that could cause high blood pressure. And then also sedentary lifestyle because your heart's not strong enough. So your heart is a muscle. So every time we exercise, we basically strengthen that heart muscle. Okay, so when we're not exercising, we're not allowing our heart to be as strong as it can be. So it's unable to pump the blood throughout our arteries in the way that we need it.
Right.
Okay, so it just adds to the stress on those arteries, and that could cause maybe your blood vessels to burst. It can cause them to be more clogged or more stiff. And then so once that blood flow isn't reaching your heart, that's where major problems come.
Right. And from what I understand, too, cycling is a good exercise, a form of exercise that is low impact on your joints and things like that.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Ryan, one of the things also I wanted to get into is from the Heart Committee's point of view of why cycle. What can that do to lessen our impact on the environment?
Sure. Yeah. So I think before I go into that for a second, I just want to, piggyback off of what Sydnei was mentioning, is that cycling is not only good for your physical health because of what the reasons for that Sydney mentioned. It's also just fun. It's more fun. It helps you connect to your community more than just simply hopping in your car and driving to work or wherever it might be. You can kind of notice the intricacies, see your neighbors as you ride by, say hi, whereas you don't really get that opportunity to do that in your car. So that's, one of the, great benefits, just even from the mental health side of things.
Right.
Of cycling or riding a bike. But I guess from a H.E.A.R.T standpoint, the environmental community standpoint, riding or bike is a lot more environmentally friendly than riding your bike, than riding your car, driving your car.
Right.
Right. And the reason for that is that, we all will emit CO2 or carbon dioxide as we ride our bike or run or exercise or even just kind of sit here breathing and talking, but it's a lot less carbon dioxide than hopping in your car and driving, anywhere really.
Right.
So those CO2 emissions are a lot lower impact when you choose to ride your bike instead of drive your car. So it's a lot safer for the environment. It does a lot for the environment to kind of replace car trips with bike trips wherever you can.
Right. Now, you had been on the program before, and you had talked about the average drive time or average distance of a commute to work. What is that?
Yeah. So I like to say just a 3 mile long drive is a 15 to 20 minute bike ride.
Right.
I'm pretty lucky that I live for about 3 to 4 miles away from work. So I'm lucky I get to ride my bike as much as I can.
Right.
And it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes to get here. So it's just an easy way to kind of get some exercise before and after work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So, Sydney, what does the 3 mile ride kind of equate as far as, is there an average number of calories that you might burn off, or does it have to do with the individual person?
So yeah, not necessarily. It depends on who you are, how much you weigh, male, female, body fat percentage, metabolism. So it's hard to calculate all of that for just, a set amount of people. Everyone's different.
Right, right. So Ryan, what are some of the idea behind the getting out and exercising? What are some of the things that the county has tried to do to make it easier or more accessible for people to start to get out to bike?
Sure. From a infrastructure standpoint, which is a little bit beyond the scope of the environmental committee, the Department of Public Works is constantly working on new projects to add new bike lanes, trails, even sidewalks, just safer places to ride. We have several parks around the county that offer places for safe places for people to ride. Deep Run Park, Dory Park are great places to ride your bike. The county already has over 56 miles of paved trails and bike lanes.
Right.
Many more are on the way.
Right.
The Fall Line Trail is a really exciting project that's coming soon. That'll be a new recreational trail from Ashland to Petersburg that just happens to kind of cut right through central Henrico County. So that'll be another 7.5 miles of just off-street paved trail.
Wow.
And that kind of goes along with the Capitol Trail that we've already got, which is a great amenity
Right.
to ride your bike or rollerblade or whatever you want to do to stay active. So.
Right. Well, Sydney, what else is there that's beneficial about riding a bicycle, about getting out? It's not all just physical, right?
Yeah. I mean, so Ryan touched on this a little bit earlier, but, exercising and being active releases hormones in your body, and those hormones are called endorphins. So those increase your sense of well-being, your sense of self-efficacy. So that can also help you alleviate some feelings of pain and, decrease your feelings of depression and things like that. So it also is great for your mental health, just being active.
Right.
And then also, improves your sleep quality, helps you stay asleep for longer, and then you'll have better quality of sleep. So mentally, it's great in that right as well.
Right. So if I had never biked, or if I haven't biked since I was a child, how do I get back into it? Is it impossible?
It's not impossible. I would say I haven't been a biker since I was a child, but it's all about just getting out there and figuring out what you need to feel like you can do it. So, for me, it would be more like my sense of direction. I might be a little scared to get out there. I don't know many of the bike routes or things like that. So I would have to, do some research and prepare myself to go out there and actually do it. So I would probably get an app that shows me different bike routes and research what equipment I might need, things like that to get prepared to do it. And then it's just all about just doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it may also be a good idea, perhaps, let's say, for instance, you're going to decide that you want to bike to work or bike to the grocery store, that maybe drive it first and really get comfortable with the route. I know it's kind of weird saying that, but still.
Yeah.
And you may find out that the way you would drive to work is not necessarily the best way you'd want to bike to work.
Right.
Would you say that, Ryan?
Yes, that's a great way to put it. I would say, a lot of us always, think about that quickest route from A to B because you drive it every day.
Right.
But a lot of times that route involves getting on the highway or getting on West Broad Street or Staples Mill Road, places where, some folks, not necessarily on the highway, but some folks, may still ride their bikes on those networks of streets, which is not ideal, but it may be the only choice they have. But what I would recommend is neighborhood streets are typically our safest streets. So if there's a way to kind of do your research beforehand and just find ways where you can kind of utilize those neighborhood streets and then connect from neighborhood to neighborhood if you need to on a somewhat busier street. After you've become a little bit more comfortable, it becomes a lot easier to kind of hop from neighborhood to neighborhood to make your way to where you need to go.
Right.
So,
offhand, can you think of any resources that may be available online for people to learn more about bike routes or just the type of gear to get?
Sure, yeah. So as far as bike routes, Plan RVA is our regional planning organization. They focus on several municipalities around the Richmond area, and they actually have a great mapping resource that actually you can kind of see the map of the entire region and zoom into wherever you're looking to go, and it will show at a street level kind of the comfort index for somebody on their bike.
Right.
Most neighborhood streets are as comfortable as they could be. There's less traffic, supposedly lower speeds for cars driving through. And then as you work your way towards the busier roads, it may kind of suggest maybe try not to ride your bike down this road.
Right.
But it becomes easier to build your route with a resource like that.
Right. And the H.E.A.R.T committee advocates getting out and being active, but we also advocate safety. It's very important.
Yes.
So Sydnei, what kind of resources are available for people that want to learn more about heart health and more about how that intertwines with fitness?
I would say just going on accredited sites like the American Heart Association and just doing your research and making sure that you're making the right decisions. I would definitely start there.
And it is something that all ages can get into.
Yeah.
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 I mean, if you really feel uncomfortable, maybe get a 3-wheel bike.
Yeah. Right.
Put your stuff in the back. So Ryan, one of the things as we're starting to wind up a little bit about is I wanted to find out what kind of activities or what kind of things is the county planning for Bike Month?
Sure.
Or just as far as getting closer to being geared up to getting out on the road.
Sure. Yeah. So we're working. The H.E.A.R.T committee is working with some community partners. So Sports Backers and Bike Walk RVA are kind of the two major players when it comes to Bike Month, not only in the county, but really across the region. They put together a calendar of events every single year that's filled up pretty much every day with different events for riders of all ages. So we're kind of working with them so that we can put out any information that might be out there, especially for Henrico events happening in Henrico.
Right.
One of those events is the Cap to Cap, race. So that is along the Capitol Trail, May 10th and 11th. So it's a 2-day event. There are several different distances you can choose to ride, anywhere from a family fun ride to a competitive all the way down and all the way back. It's over 100 miles to ride the Capitol Trail, all the way down to Jamestown and all the way back up to Richmond. So you can kind of pick and choose what you like to do, but that's a major event. There's a fun zone at Dory Park that Rec and Parks holds every year on Saturday the 11th.
Oh, cool.
And then finally, for Henrico employees, something exciting. We're kind of working on a biking initiative for Henrico employees. To kind of just show the ways that you get around, show the ways that you ride your bike, whether it's on your own, for fitness, for fun, with your family, and we'll have some more details coming on that soon. But there's a couple of things we've been working on. So
very good. Well, anything else? Did we skip anything? Anything else you want to throw in?
I'm good. I think, I said all I can say. I think we covered it all.
Very good. Well, I wanted to remind everybody that for our audio listeners and not our visual watchers, we do have Stuart the Turtle on our table, and Stuart is our mascot, and Stuart reminds us to be good stewards of the environment. He also reminds us to reduce, reuse, recycle whenever possible, and even though Stuart is kind of a slow walker, he does want us to stay healthy as much as possible. So if you want to get any more information about the H.E.A.R.T committee and what the county is doing for sustainability and how to be more eco-friendly, you can visit our website, which is henrico.us/H.E.A.R.T. And once again, I really appreciate y'all coming on to the show today and helping out with this. It was some really good information, and I love the collaboration that we're starting to do with the county. So I appreciate it.
That's great.
We'll appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.